Hello, I will present you today a design pattern which is called the chain of responsibility design pattern. A lot of design patterns have been published. The most known design pattern, which is the singleton uh, or visitor design pattern, the chain of responsibility is a less known design pattern but quite powerful. Before I will present the design pattern, I will speak for 1 minute about myself. I am Thierry Bremard, Senior Software Engineer. I have a Master of Science in 2008. During my formation at SIA, I finished with a telecom specialization. I did 3 internships in different companies, Thales, Freescale, Daimler. After that, I had 2 full-time jobs as a as a C developer. Then in 2011, I had my first full-time job as a C Sharp developer. Oh, there is a mistake here. So this is a C Sharp. So I make C Sharp since 10 years, and I've been working in Seritech, Margot Group, and since 2020, I've moved from France to Germany and working at GfK in Nuremberg. In the content of the presentation, I will first define what is the pattern. Then I will give you an illustration with diagram and UML diagrams. And then I will show a second illustration, which is more related to real code. So for the first illustration, I will show you here. So we have the UML standard, which defines different diagrams. On here, I will show a class diagram. But first, I will speak about the goal of the chain of responsibility design pattern. This chain of responsibility gives a solution to add an arbitrary number of features for an operation. You can build a cascade of elements which will trigger one after each other. The initial caller is not aware of how many sub-elements are called. The idea is that here, the caller, like for example the button, will call an action and is not aware of how many classes will be triggered. So it can trigger either only one action class, the action button, but at the same time, the pattern gives the mechanics so that the button is not aware if there is action button only, action log, and action web service. So the key of this design pattern is to define an abstract class which acts as an interface to implement for all the classes which will be enrolled in the chain of responsibility. One very important element of this abstract class is the field next. So here there is an abstract class, and you see it is abstract because with the UML standard, the class name is written in italics. So it means it is an abstract class, and we have a next field, which makes a loop back. So this is an open arrow written, so it means that there is a reference, and the reference, the field which holds the reference is called next. In this case, also it is a protected field. So one very important element of this abstract class is the field next, which points to the abstract class itself. This gives the possibility to chain every subclass that we want one after each other. Because each subclass inherits from the abstract class, the fact that we have this loopback gives the feature that an action button can loop to another implementation like the Action Web Service. This example gives a certain behavior which consists in executing an operation, then calling operation of the next element. Other behavior can be defined like if there is a next element, then the current element does nothing, and next element has the responsibility to do the operation. So I mean this, the chain of responsibility design pattern does not say explicitly a process rule. It just say that you have the mechanics to trigger a cascade of elements, but you can change the behavior. So for example, if there is a next element, so if the next element is called either, you can perform your own action and then calling the next one, or you can also say that in your software you will inhibit your action and give the priority to the next one. Or the other thing, you can also say, I will first execute the next one and then after execute my operation. So this is open to discussion depending on what is your software architecture, what is your proper design, but you have to be aware that you can discuss these rules while creating the pattern. I will continue this first illustration with a UML sequence diagram to have a better understanding. So UML defines different kind of diagrams. We just saw UML class diagram, and this is UML sequence diagram. You read it as with the object which are at the top. So I have a user object, and the way that you read it is that it calls a method on the target object, and the name which is on the arrow is the name of a public method on the target object. So this means I have a user which has a reference to the button, and I call the click method of the button instance. Then the button has a reference to an action button, and it will call the perform action to this object. Then the object will make its proper action and chain what is following. In the second illustration that I will give you after, it is not exactly the same thing, but what you have to, the goal here is just to understand the sequence and how it acts. So you have the three classes here, and they perform an operation and call to the next one. So this is the idea. When you understand this, this is maybe 90% of the design pattern that you understood. Now I will come to the second illustration, which is more related to the code, and it is not linked at all with the diagram that I showed you before. So you will have no button, no web service, no log. So this is a unit test, and I have this HTML content. And I want to design a system, which is here, so to extract what I want inside of the system, inside of the HTML content. So I want to extract this part. So I use two different classes. I will first use the XPath extracts role, which goal is to extract the XPath part. The XPath part is referenced here, HTML body div strong. So XPath is a way to address, to find a resource in an HTML page. This is a standard, which is defined. And this means, for this example, I want to get the content of HTML. Inside HTML, I have a body tag. Inside the body tag, I have a div tag. Inside the div tag, I have a strong tag. And then the XPath finishes. So it means I want to extract everything which is here. Then I have a new role, which is called between extracts rule, and this rule has been implemented to extract all the text which is between two tokens. So there is the prefix is here, is, and the suffix is your. So after this element, I have extracted this, and then the between element will extract everything which is between is and the euro. And I do this by applying the chain of responsibility design pattern. So here you see that I have roles, and these two roles, for example, the XPath extracts role, is a class which inherits from the extracts role. And this extracts role is the base class which is used at the top of the design pattern. You see here the next field, which loops to an extracts role, the set next method, which is in the abstract class, so we do not have to implement it for each of the new classes, and then the get output chained. The get output chained is calling the get output method, which is an abstract method on which is implemented by all the children. And then there is this check. If there is a next element, then I chain to go to call the get output chain of the next one. I changed my shortcuts, so I have to find again where go to implementation. So here you see the implementation of the different roles. So in my system, I have developed different extracting roles. So I have the after tracks role, before extracts role, between extracts role. So the between is calling the after and the before. The XPath extracts role and the mother extracts role. And each one overrides the get output method with its proper method. So here, this is after, this is here the between. So the between, to implement the between, I override the get output method, and then I am calling the after, then calling the before. I come back to the class. So you understand how this is done. And so my first rule, I have it, this is the XPath, and I set to my first rule, I name it the root rule because this is the root or the first, and I call the set next and give the next rule to execute. And I have the output of the chain just by calling the first node and I want the get output chained. One element I didn't mention in the first illustration is that by writing the code, I discovered um, I discovered a principle that I think should be done in this pattern. The principle is that the specific method which is implemented by the children should be named with any name you want, and the method which is doing the work to chain, I propose that it is suffixed by the chained keyword. This was something that I saw during the implementation that I have not established here. So here I have an action method, or I say perform action. So you have to understand that this is calling a chain, a cascade. So if I do again this UML class diagram, I would better write this method as action chained. And also here a little subtlety, I exposed it as a public method, and during the implementation I changed by putting it as protected. This depends on the solution you want or what you want to do. For me, in my purpose, protected is good. What I want to speak about again. So I think this is most of the things. So here, yes, I want to say another thing. So to have what I want to say is that I am lost in the windows. Here, there is a loopback to chain, but there is no data cascade. So you make action without passing any values. And during the implementation, I needed to pass values. So the HTML is the input of this node. This node output is the input of the next node, and the next node output is the output of all the chain. To do this, one subtlety that must be done is that you must have a symmetric input-output type. So the get output chain method is as an input an interface, and as an output the interface. And same thing for the get output. The get output, which is called here, must also have the same structure. So to transition to make a transfer of the data object through all the nodes of the chain, you have to have this similarity. So this is most of the thing I want to say. I will just rebuild the solution and give you an illustration of the test. So this is get output chained. When two rules are chained, then data is extracted. So I want just to take the time to remind that the method the method which is targeted by the test is the prefix of the test method. Then I have the initial conditions. When two rules are chained, then the data is extracted correctly, this is the expected result. So targeted method, input, expected output. And here I have all the tests. So in 5 seconds, we execute 64 automatic tests. And if I want to go to this test, the XPath Xtracts rule test, it is here, and it is passing. There is no log for the moment. So this is this. I wanted to present this design pattern, and I think a lot of people are not aware of this powerful design pattern, and it can be I think I have worked in some missions, and for example, one application there was not this design pattern, and I think this could have been used is for example, you want to get a price and you have different providers, different price providers. Or let's say you want to get specific data and you have different data providers. And depending on the data type and depending on the providers, this data may not be available on the specific provider. And you in this scenario, you can say, okay, I will call first this provider. If the data is not there, I will call another one. Or if there is this rule, I will call this one. So this is another example where you could apply this design pattern. So thank you for your attention, and comment to ask question or write me an email.